Welcome to World Travel Made Easy with Itinerary Boss, the podcast for busy professionals, entrepreneurs, and business owners who want to travel smarter, save money, and plan unforgettable trips without the stress. I'm Ross, your host and the founder of Itinerary Boss. I spent a decade building a career in healthcare, software, and medical device sales while planning both personal and business trips across more than 20 countries. Whether it was group getaways with friends, couples trips, or just mapping out business territories, I became the go-to person for saving money on flights, organizing those logistics, and using points to elevate the experience. Now, as an entrepreneur and business owner, I help others do the same by showing you how to travel better using points, smart planning, and those proven strategies. Each week, we bring you expert guests, step-by-step tutorials on points and miles, and real-world itineraries that we've used to help you plan with confidence. Whether it's using points to travel better, exploring a new destination, or just learning how to maximize your spending, we've got you covered. Before we dive in, go ahead and grab one of our free tools in the show notes. One, the points and miles cheat sheet that'll help you get started earning and redeeming points to save thousands on travel, or the stress-free travel toolkit that includes a budget guide, packing checklist, and planning tips to save you time and hassle. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or busy professional looking to choose your next credit card or get help maximizing your everyday spending for rewards and booking free travel, book a free one-on-one consultation. You can find the link within the show notes or head over to itineraryboss.com. And if this episode helps you, please share it with a friend or family member, follow the show, and leave a 5-star review. It's the best way that helps us grow. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of World Travel Made Easy with Itinerary Boss. We're excited to have you here this week, and we're going to be diving into the best personal credit cards for flights and hotels. And I know a lot of times I get this question all the time. Hey, what's the best credit card for me personally? It just totally depends on your travel style. Where are you located? What flight are you trying to take? Are you staying in hotels? Do you travel for work? So, we're going to dive into, which credit cards we like, which also can you use some of the specific benefits that give you some lounge access, free nights, or just different cashback rewards that you might like. And we're really going to dive into those. So, first, I'll set the stage with I'm all about flexible travel cards. So, what does that mean? If you've been listening since we started this credit card series, you understand that we're all about transferable currencies. So, using cards that will transfer to airline partners. If you're coming and this is the first episode you're listening to, you'll probably want to go back and listen to some of those about why our credit cards game changers, welcome offers, and just kind of going back through the past couple weeks of the episodes that we've done. But for these, a lot of people will ask me about co-branded credit cards, thinking that, they have to use that and that's the end all be all, and that's what they use. I'll say that is probably the number one mistake I see people making is using whether it's an American Airlines, United, Delta, um, uh, any other ones, Alaska, any other co-branded cards for every single expense that they spend on. If I don't, I have the American Airlines card for priority boarding, for for checked bags, things like that, and I had a good welcome offer, but that's usually what I use mine for. I specifically like flexible travel cards. So when you think about transfer partners, airfare perks, getting some of those elite style travel features. So I'm just going to walk through a couple that I recommend, a couple that I have, and then we'll get into from a flights perspective, hotels, and then we'll go. So. Yeah, first, one of the more premier ones is the Platinum card from American Express. Why is this great? You get 5 times the points on flights, direct with the airlines or through Amex Travel. You get nice lounge access, Centurion lounge access, Delta Priority Pass lounge access. You also get a $200 airline fee. And this is really going to be good for those luxury and frequent flyers. You do have a $695 annual fee, but the benefits that come with that are going to outweigh the cost, and you're going to be able to get that back. If you want to dive deeper into some of these too, we have our website that makes it easy to scroll through. You can read our take, understand more about these more in detail. Second, you have the Capital One Venture X rewards, so you can get 5 times on flights booked through Capital One Travel. You also get a $300 annual travel credit and 10K anniversary bonus miles. You get priority pass lounge access, global entry credit. This does have a $395 annual fee, but there's a ton of benefits that come with this: travel protections, travel insurance, having, transferable miles. That's huge. And the annual fee, you're already getting that $300 annual fee, so that's wiping out the that's wiping out $300 off the $395 annual fee, along with having transferable miles. So just an example, we use Capital One miles to pay for business class flights, 100K Capital One miles, equating to over $5,000 in business class flights. So for the points and miles nerds out there, that's over 5 cents per point, which is great. So that's where we really like those transferable currencies: Capital One, Amex, some of the other banks. That also you can learn more from our points. Hey, I wanted to take a quick break to say thank you so much for tuning into the show. The only way the show grows is through listeners like you helping us share it. So if you're enjoying the show, it'd mean the world to me if you hit that 5-star rating, shared it with a friend or family member who's ready to travel more, save money, or just needs a little bit more inspiration and that nudge. And if you're posting about it on Instagram, go ahead and tag Itinerary Boss, and we'll make sure to reshare it and shout you out for giving us a shout out. Thanks so much for the support. It truly means a lot. And now back with the show. Points and miles free cheat sheet that gets you started has those transfer partner cheat sheet that kind of unlocks which of the banks and cards transfer directly to some of those different reward spaces and different loyalty programs. Next, you have the Sapphire Reserve. That's one that I have in my wallet. They didn't have the Capital One Venture X rewards when I started in this. So back in 2019, I got the Sapphire Reserve. I would get the Capital One Venture X nowadays just because I think it's a great value, especially with the annual fee. So for that one, you get 3x on travel, so including fights and flights, 5x on travel via booking through the Ultimate Rewards portal. You get priority pass lounge access, global entry, TSA pre reimbursement, a $300 travel credit. There are some changes that are coming. And so it used to have a $550 annual fee that's being bumped up to $795. So there are a bunch of new perks, and on our website, you can check out, what do those all include. It also transfers to, different airline alliances, which, places like Air Canada, British Airways, Qatar, United, others, as well as you can transfer to Hyatt. That's where we like to use a lot of our ultimate rewards. So, being able to stay at a lot of these places for 10, 15,000 points a night, which are some amazing hotels. So that's where we like to use some of our ultimate rewards points. Then you have the Sapphire Preferred, which you get 2x on travel, 5x through the Ultimate Rewards travel. You get a lower $95 fee. You have those same one-to-one airline partners. This is a great entry-level card. And if I were getting started out with what the options available today, I would pair this most likely with the Capital One Venture X, just because that gets you some of those benefits. You also could um, pair that with or get the platinum card so you could get those benefits. But what I like about the Venture X in this as a stack is you get 2 times the points on every dollar spent on the Venture X. So you're not combining really those travel card. You are combining it, but you're making the most of the benefits with the lounge access, those perks, but also you're maximizing, the travel and everything. And you're diversifying your points. So you could use the Sapphire Preferred solely for transferring to Hyatt, and then the Capital One Venture X could be your go-to for airline points, all of that. And then you have the Capital One Venture Awards, 2x on everything. It's same thing as Capital One Venture X from a transfer partners. standpoint. This was actually my first card that I got from a travel perspective, um, that had transferable rewards back in 2017. My first travel card I got was in 2014, but that was a $0 or zero, yeah, zero annual fee that didn't have transferable rewards. And that was prior to the Sapphire Preferred and also the Venture X being available. So that's why I went ahead and got some of those. So those are the ones that I really like for flexible travel cards for your everyday spend, because those are going to get you transferable currencies. They also have great flight partners, hotel partners. So that's the best way to do those. So I always say get started there because those are going to get you going, and you can use those within hotels as well as airline programs. And if you're like, Ross, this all sounds great, but I don't know where to get started, go ahead and grab that free points and miles cheat sheet that we have available. That's going to get you started on everything from what are points and miles, how do I use them, what are transfer partners, how do I, maximize upgrades and offset annual fees. And then there's also a breakdown of our credit card multiplier, which compares the different cards with the in the different categories, how many points they earn, and then also a transfer partner guide where it shows you, that one-to-one, who's transferring to who from hotels, domestic airlines, and then it gets more into the advanced airline alliances to really get that 5 cents per point type value that I had mentioned earlier. Then, from there, hotel branded cards are, well, one thing other two, if you are a business traveler, one strategy, if your company, so say you work for a company and they allow you to use your personal card to book travel, I would say, get one of those cards and book, most of your flights on those, because then you're just racking up those. Also, if you want to earn more of those, you also could, um, depending on where you're going, you could pay for your food when you're out. You could pay for, your flights. If you wanted to book through the portal and earn, those maximizers, you could do that on kind of simple nonstop flights. And you can understand just kind of my thought process around online travel agencies from former episodes where, if you're doing a more complex flight where you have multiple layovers, if you have those delays, I always recommend booking direct. But if you're, if you're a business traveler and your company allows you to pay, you could use that Capital One Venture X, or you could use that, any of the American Express or the other ones that I mentioned, and then book directly through those portals, because then you could get those maximizers of 10x, 5x the points, and you could start to get a lot of transferable currencies. And then when you start to stack those with hotel cards, so say you travel a lot for work. When I was a road warrior, I traveled a lot. I stayed in a lot of Marriott's and Hilton's. I had to book through Concur and use my corporate card, but then I worked for a company where we got to use, personal cards. So, I would have gone when I was staying at Marriott's, right? I would have grabbed the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless because, for example, right now, currently as we're recording June 18th, 2025, you can get 5 free night awards up to 50K points each after you spend $5,000 in a certain threshold. You then get 6 times the points on every dollar spent at Marriott hotels. So when you book those, you're going to, get those points, but also you're probably going to be spending money there for your bills. So, using that card when you're there, you get Silver Elite status, a path to gold, and you also get a free night award annually up to 35,000 points, and it covers the $95, which will cover the $95 fee. The one thing that is happening is Marriott is upping their award chart, so it is harder to find those free night awards, but in some of the more aspirational places that people like to go. But if you just say, hey, I want those 5 free award nights to go, I have I'll just use an example. We have family in Ohio. where if we want to get a hotel for a couple nights and we want to stay in Columbus, like that's going to fall under that threshold for those free nights. So thinking through strategically, Marriott, that card may not get me the aspirational places that I want to go, but if I want to travel and stay places with domestically that aren't kind of those hot spots, um, and need a hotel, like that's going to be a great card for that. So thinking through those type of strategies, um, but I think when you're thinking through this too, think about vacations you have coming up. Don't just go open a card. If you're going somewhere specific, right, think through a strategy. So I'll just give one that we used September 2024, where now there's one of the same current bonuses happening. The IHG One Rewards Premier Credit Card. So we opened this last fall because, and the current offer then was 5 free nights up to 60,000 points a night. So that's 300,000 points after you spend $5,000 within the first 3 months. Why did we open this up? And this is just an example. We knew that we were doing our wedding hotel block at the Kimpton. That was one of the hotel blocks at the Kimpton here in Charlotte. We knew that our rehearsal dinner was at a restaurant that was within the Kempton. So we knew we were going to be spending money on 2 nights for our suite that we were staying in and then for our restaurant. So we knew, okay, that's going to earn us um, 26 times the points on every dollar spent at the hotel. And then it's going to earn us 10 times the points on dollars spent booking the IHG hotels. So we knew that was a great offer, and we knew 5 free nights obviously made sense. So with $5,000, we were able to hit that minimum spend with upcoming expenses we had. But then on top of that, we got Platinum Elite status. And for the 5 free nights, we were able to use, we knew we were staying at an Intercontinental, which is an IHG hotel in Bangkok. We used one of those free nights there. And then we also we're able to find we're doing a trip to Grand Cayman, and there's a new Hotel Indigo that's valued at $750 a night for the time we're going. And we were able to use 4 of those free nights there. So we're saving over $3,100 in 4 nights using those 4 free nights awards. We also get, we already have global and TSA pre-check, but that's another credit you can get. And the nice thing is you also get a fourth free night after you buy 3 nights on points. So just thinking through a use case of after we already spent those, we got 10 to 26 times the points on every dollar spent from the hotel block, from the suite when we stayed in Bangkok from using that card, as well as a couple other expenses. Now we only solely use it for IHG, but we have over 110,000 IHG points, which we could use for a vacation, in 2026. And if we booked, let's just say we found hotels we could stay at some nicer ones, maybe they're 30 to 35,000 points a night. We could get 3 nights on that. And then that fourth night would be free along with, there could be an anniversary night. So that's just the power of some of the hotel branded credit cards because sometimes you may not stay at IHG places when you travel for work, if they're paying for it, or if you want to stay somewhere, but they have some good hotel options with Hotel Indigo and Kimpton. And if you can leverage that, they have a huge network and that could pay for if you're doing international travel. They have some really good options. So that's one that we like. It has a really good high offer. We also, when we talk about um, I'll just use another example of one we opened, the World of Hyatt credit card. So currently, June 18th, 2025, there's a $35,000 points after you spend 3K in the first 3 months, and then you could earn an additional 30,000 based on your additional spend over the next few months. Why we like this is you get a free category 1 to 4 annually or annual free night. You also get Discoverist status. You get 2 times the points on airfare, dining, and 4 times the points on Hyatt, and 9 times the points total on any of your Hyatt stays, as well as um, when you spend money on that card. So we like that. You get a lot of there's places when I'm going on a out for work out to Wichita, staying for 3 nights at a conference. Each night is 3,500 points. That's absolutely nothing, right? So thinking through, okay, just a strategy, if you have anything coming up where you're going to stay at a Hyatt, you can use, 3,500 points isn't a lot, but then when you start to think about, okay, if I want to stay at some amazing Hyatts, for example, when we went to Bali, we had a $12,000 or 12,000 point a night stay at one of the Alila, which is a luxury Hyatt resort. There was another one that was right on the beach. All these are five-star luxury resorts. 15,000 Hyatt points a night in for an ocean views room in Phuket, Thailand, and then 17,000 point a night ocean view room in Bali. We were on our honeymoon, so we upgraded, but still the point differential wasn't that much. And these are five-star luxury resorts. At the nicest place. And then the nice part is, whenever we go to those places, you can use you can use that card for 9 times the points on those. So you start to rack up more points plus your bonus. And that's where then this gets fun. And then you have, that specific card. So I kind of wish, when I was earlier in my travels, when I was trying to budget more, and have a tighter budget, that I stayed at Hyatt's and I knew that. But that's just another strategy. So thinking through Hyatt, and then the nice thing is you can then combine some of those points from either the Freedom Unlimited that we talked about in our last episode, the Sapphire Preferred, or the Reserve. Those transfer at a 1-to-1. So that's where it gets fun, where you're earning a lot more points on those everyday spend cards. You can then combine that with the Hyatt points that you have, and then you can start to, your hotels are pretty much free. And then last, the Hilton Honors Aspire from Amex. Right now, as we're recording, there's 150,000 points after $6,000 spend. In the first 3 months, you earn 14 times the points at Hilton, 7 times the points dining and airfare. There is a larger annual fee on this of over $500, but some of the perks you get automatic diamond status, you get a uncapped free night annually. So if it's a very expensive night, it's not that kind of Marriott where it's going to be under 50,000 points. You get an uncapped free night, and that can be any day of the week. You also get a $250 Hilton Resort credit, $250 airline incidental credit, $400 in Hilton statement credits. That's gonna be $200 each 6 months. So January to June, and then July, $200 July to December. And then you also get $100 on property credit at select luxury brands. So this is a massive value if you stay with Hilton at least 1 to 2 times a year. If you're I mean, this is great from a personal standpoint. You're going to be able to get upgrades most likely when you use that. But I think another thing is if you're traveling a lot for work, and like I mentioned earlier in the episode, and with your you can pay with your personal card, getting this and just using this for every Hilton stay, like you're going to start to maximize points. And when you travel personally, you're going to start to um, get more and more. So just another strategy. And just lastly, I mean, you can add on, co-branded airline cards. So, if you want Delta, Gold Amex, United Explorer, JetBlue Plus, Alaska Visa. I have the American Airlines, Barclays, AA Advantage, Arrival. I always mess this up. Arrival Mastercard. That's one just because I get boarding since I don't fly a lot for work at all really. I get to board with group five, so we only do carry-on, so I get to group to board earlier, so I get to put my carry-on in the overhead. And then also, if we do check a bag, which we don't really, I get free check bags and there's some statement credits. I signed up for that because there was a $65,000, 65,000 point welcome offer. So I was able to, and we had a couple flights that it paid for to Turks and Caicos, Scottsdale, and then one others that it paid for in 2024. in 2025 that I knew I was going to be using. So that's one of the reasons I got that. And then just to, rack up some American miles. So I have those. But, think through what's your hub, but don't use those cards for all your spend because you're going to be leaving dollars on the table, points on the table. So yeah, I would say, for flights, go with some of the higher end and higher spend premium travel cards, the American Express Platinum, the Capital One Venture X, or the Preferred or Reserve. Hotels, you can pair those. So depending on any upcoming trips you have, anything you travel for work, Heighten, Hyatt, Hilton, IHG, or Marriott, just depending on your travel habits. And then if you have a hub or Charlotte, so I have the American Airlines co-branded card, but pairing one flexible card with one hotel card is smart. And then, if you have a significant other, when you want to start to get into two-player mode, that's when the real fun begins. And then you start to have different cards, and you can, each of you could have one or two hotel cards. Each you could have one or two of those flexible cards, and that's when then you and your spouse or significant other and your family starts to travel for free. We'll then get into the even more fun when, if you do have a business, you are an entrepreneur, side hustler, you have a, long lasting business. We're going to get into best travel cards for business owners on our next episode. Then we're going to start to break down specific types of businesses and get into that because that's, people who we serve as business owners. And we're going to start to show how can you pair this with business daily expenses along with personal, and how do you combine those points to then get maximum value and save you tens of thousands of dollars each year on travel. So appreciate everyone tuning in. If you love this episode, again, make sure you share it with a friend or family member that you think could benefit from this and wants to travel more using points and miles pretty much for free. And if you think it deserves a 5-star review, please give us that. That helps us grow the show. And leave us a comment if you think it deserves it. And if you're like, Ross, this all sounds great, but I'm overwhelmed. I'm confused. Where should I get started? Check out our website. We have a free points and miles cheat sheet, like I mentioned earlier, and that's going to help you get started on what do these look like, who transfers to who, get you a better understanding of, which credit card is best for me. And that's the beauty of it is we have that all outlined. And then if you need help with, maximizing some of your business expenses, getting started with a best card for your business, reach out. We have a one-on-one credit card consult we can help you out with. But appreciate everyone tuning in, and we will see you next week.